And yes, we're live. So, hi everyone. My name is Ina, and I'm an events coordinator at Lift 99. Thanks for joining us tonight. This time we have a digital marketing discussion with our community member, Shash Singh. Shash is a co-founder and CEO of Linx digital marketing agency, specialized in helping businesses improve their sales and profits through YouTube and Facebook ads. I'm sure the insights Shash will be sharing tonight are very cool. And we have a 20-minute session, Q&A session in the end. So if you have any questions, please leave them below this video and we will cover them all. Now I'm passing the microphone to Shash and muting myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? Hope everybody's safe and hope everybody's healthy. So I'm going to share my screen and I have a quick presentation for you guys. Before I do that, just want to give you a quick bit of background. I run a YouTube advertising agency. So we work with a lot of e-commerce brands. We also work with a lot of course sellers, so people who sell online courses. And I'm going to talk about how the coronavirus is affecting our business and what you guys can do to, kind of thrive in this time instead of kind of getting hit hard by it, right? So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. So the presentation is how coronavirus is affecting digital marketing and our agency's response. So what we do, as I mentioned, is we run YouTube ads for either course creators or e-com companies. And what that means is we see a lot of trends, right? Like we see how the coronavirus is affecting these different niches. We're seeing that, how e-commerce companies are reacting, and we see how course companies are creating. So courses being like info products and so on. And basically, these are kind of like the high level of what we've seen. Some clients are doing better than ever, especially courses that teach you how to make money online. Anything that's got to do with making an online income, like starting an agency, starting an e-commerce store. These kind of courses are doing really well just because of the fact that people realize that, hey, I can't really be reliant on an in-person income, especially working a 9-to-5 office job. I'm sure a lot of you are working online right now for your jobs and so on, but there are a lot of people out there who, perhaps they work at retail, perhaps they have jobs, where they're in the service industry, they're working at restaurants, and these people are realizing that, hey, it's more than ever a liability to be working in those industries. It's definitely a good time to learn some skill sets so you can make some extra cash online. Now, e-commerce is a mixed bag. So e-commerce being online stores, different products and so on. Some e-commerce clients are doing better than ever, while others are struggling. So a lot of this really depends also on your basically your your supply chain. So if you're an e-commerce store and your suppliers can't ship to you, that's an issue. I know a lot of e-commerce stores got hit at the beginning of the coronavirus because of the fact that their suppliers in China were basically not able to produce or ship their stuff, but now those are recovering. So what we've seen overall is we have one e-commerce client where the first week when the coronavirus started hitting really hard in kind of the US, their sales dropped by like 50%. Like their sales absolutely plummeted. But then after that, their sales actually recovered and now it's doing better than before. So with e-commerce, it's kind of a mixed bag, but overall, I would say it's fairly positive. Travel has been hit hard. Obviously, goes without saying. We have a travel client, and they basically had an issue where they're essentially what they were doing is selling hotel rooms or resort rooms in Cancun, Cabo San Lucas, and some of these other places. And the issue they had is that basically they nobody wants to travel, right? So they had a really unique solution around it. They basically made it so you could book a hotel room or a resort room for up to 2 years. And because of that, they've basically been able to get some revenue out of that, because people are like, okay, I can use this hotel room or resort room even after the corona is over, right? So they're able to kind of book a room and use it whenever they want over the next 2 years. So if you're in an industry which has been hit hard, then you got to think about smart ways to pivot, smart ways to generate revenue, even if you can't do it the traditional way that you do it, right? So what we've seen on our side in terms of running advertisements is that ad costs have gone down by 10 to 20%. So impressions are cheaper than ever. And basically, as you can see in both of these cases, the blue line is ad costs. You can see like in the beginning of March, it was fairly high and it kind of went down quite a bit. And then the same thing in this account, it went down a little bit, went down by like 10%. So we're seeing like a 10 to 20% decrease in ad costs on YouTube. Now, click-through rates, which is what percentage of people actually click on your ad, have stayed the same or gone up in some accounts. Conversion rates have gone up or down depending on the niche. So we have a client who sells a course on how to start your own e-commerce store, and his conversion rates went up. Overall costs are lower, but conversion rates really depend on your industry. If you're in a niche that's benefiting from the scenario, right? For example, if you're an e-commerce store and you sell board games, you're probably seeing a huge increase in your sales because everybody wants to buy board games because they're stuck at home, they're bored, and so on. Um, so the biggest takeaway we've seen is when you address the coronavirus and the current situation properly, click-through rates go up. So the number of people clicking on your ads go up, and your cost per lead or cost per sale goes down significantly. So you have to kind of address the situation in a way that people kind of in a way that people see that, okay, your product or your offer can help them navigate this time. So if you have an e-commerce store selling board games, you would change your ads to be basically like, hey, now that you're stuck at home, these are the top 10 board games to basically pass your time, right? So you're essentially kind of addressing the whole situation and basically giving them a reason to go to your website. Now, these are the niches that are doing really well right now. Info products are doing really well. So any kind of course on how to do something, because people have time. Fitness as well, right? I have one of our clients is doing a fitness offer. He's doing extremely well because his offer is basically how to get fit at home. And basically everybody's at home, everybody wants to get better at something while they're at home. Nobody wants to just stay in this quarantine and watch TV. They want to also like learn stuff, and it's a good opportunity for self-improvement, so people are buying courses for sure. Personal development as well, like that ties into that, is like people are trying to kind of read more. They're trying to do kind of self-improvement courses and that kind of stuff, even coaching. Work at home, make money online. So anything that has to do with making an income that's not related to, working at a 9 to 5 or working from home is doing really well right now. We have a lot of clients in that niche that are killing it. Supplements, health, food, and home workouts. Like supplements are just going crazy right now, right? Like obviously people want those immune supplements. So that's definitely an industry that's doing well. And the survival niche. So okay, so I think Lift 99, you guys are in Ukraine. I think you guys are in Tallinn as well. But in the USA, they have this whole thing of survivalists, or basically people who are always convinced that the end of the world is coming. So you gotta be prepared with like months of food and guns and everything. So that's a huge market in the United States, and that's like a really good market to target right now. Actually, with one of our clients, we're targeting that market. We sell these indestructible shoes, right? These shoes that basically you can literally drive a car on them and your feet won't get hurt. And these guys, we're basically starting to create video ads targeted towards preppers, or aka people who are always trying to prepare for the breakdown of society by having kind of like a ton of food, guns, all this kind of stuff. Like basically, it kind of a little bit redneck, but it's a great niche. E-commerce in general is very well positioned. I honestly, because nobody's going to the stores to buy stuff, so people are buying things online. I think supply chains and shipping and so on might be a little slower, but realistically, if you're an e-commerce store, this is not the time to be scared. This is the time to be like, hey, how do I take how do I use this situation in a way where my business can come out of it doing better than ever, right? There are a lot of people right now who are taking this opportunity to basically sell their products. And I mean, that's what has to happen, right? Like we're all stuck at home. The economy has to keep going. And the people who are keeping the economy going are basically doing it through e-commerce and online courses and so on. Now, what is the action plan, right? Like, what do you do if you have a offer, right, and you're basically trying to figure out like, okay, how do I deal with a situation, right? So the one thing is, if you're in a niche where you're kind of like stuck at you're not able to deliver a service. Let's say you were a yoga teacher, right? And you're basically not able to do yoga classes anymore. So what you could do is start doing online yoga classes. You can start having a yoga course. You can start selling, kind of yoga products. The thing is, like, whatever you do offline, whatever you do in real life that you perhaps can't do anymore, you can find a way to translate that online. So what I've been seeing lately is a lot of fitness coaches starting to do virtual workouts. So I actually have a friend who, he's doing kind of these live virtual workouts with his clientele, and that's like keeping them kind of fit and happy and so on, without necessarily having to, basically go into a studio, right? Like they just do it over webcam. Another really good example is physiotherapy. So actually, I had my shoulder kind of got tweaked a little bit when I was surfing, and basically what happened was, I couldn't go to a physiotherapist. I just had to do a virtual appointment with my physio in Canada, and I basically, we did it over kind of webcam. He was like, okay, do these exercises and so on. And then I paid him online. So it's like, even something like physiotherapy, which is typically something you can't do offline, people are doing online, and people are willing to pay. Like, I was happy to pay. I mean, I didn't really have any other options. So there's definitely ways around the whole, social distancing, even if you're in an offline niche. Now, another thing is, like, for example, if you're in the travel niche, right? Um, what my client did was basically they took their offer, which was, cheap resort rooms in resorts in Mexico and all these places, and they basically said, hey, if you buy a room, you can use it anytime the next 2 years. So, basically by that time the corona thing should be over. So basically that allows them to keep generating revenue, and clients are like, okay, this is good because, I can still use the room, I can get it for really cheap, even though and I know that it will basically pass, right? Like, I know in like maybe 6 to 12 months we'll have a vaccine and everything will go back to normal. So that's another part of it. So basically the first part is testing offers and pivoting and basically figuring out angles in your niche. Now, the second one is you want to be testing different kind of messages, different angles and different marketing angles. So for example, right, like if you're selling a fitness course, the angle that's working really well right now is, hey, we're all stuck at home in quarantine. Some of us will come out in the best shape of our life, while maybe there are other people who won't do anything. Like, this is an opportunity. You have all this time in your right now. This is the time where, if you start a work at home fitness program, you could come out of this quarantine in the, completely ripped and just looking really good. And that's a really powerful angle you can use, right? Like, this whole angle of, hey, this quarantine gives us the ability to kind of become better than we are right now, and my course or product will help you achieve that goal. So that's another way to do it. Another example of a marketing angle could be something like, for example, if you're selling a course on how to start an Amazon store, you could talk about perhaps how this is the best time to start an Amazon store because there's so many little niches that are showing up that wouldn't show up otherwise, right? Like, there's probably so much demand for supplements. There's so much demand for probably essential household items. There's probably a million different industries out there where, because people can't go out to the store and get them, people are ordering them on Amazon or on these other stores, right? And if you're selling a course on how to do that, then you can basically go into that and be like, hey, people are people are buying, but they're buying different things, and there's a lot of potential right now, and basically be able to get people to invest in themselves by buying your course to, achieve their goals. So yeah, that's those are a couple of ideas on what you can do to kind of keep your business going and even thriving. Like, I have clients who've literally doubled their revenue since this whole outbreak. So the big thing I really want, like, you guys to focus on is, there's a lot of opportunity right now, right? Like, there's always a lot of opportunity. Any crisis that there is in the world, there are people who end up basically figuring out ways to, kind of like grow businesses in it, right? Like, even during the 2008 depression, or like basically that recession, we had a lot of businesses come out of that because ultimately there are problems to be solved and people need to solve them and people get paid for solving problems. So if you're feeling kind of like low about this, because you're kind of stuck at home and, it's like, seems like the economic uncertainty, just remember that there is always a flip side. And there's like, you could either be like, hey, I'm not going to do anything about this, or you could be proactive and figure out, hey, how do I make sure that this crisis, like I can better myself and get out of it, doing well. Cool. So I kind of mentioned this with the pivoting and testing offers. One thing I didn't mention is pivot to a different segment of your target audience. So what I mean by this is, for example, if you have an offer, right? If you have an e-commerce store, there are probably different types of people who buy it. So for one of our clients that sells those indestructible shoes, there are a few different people who are buying it, right? The first demographic is people who work in construction sites and they don't want stuff falling on their shoe. So they're basically like, hey, I'm going to buy these shoes. Obviously, those people are not buying shoes anymore because they can't go to the construction site, and then there's also do-it-yourself people. So people who are at home, they're bored, they want to, build some furniture. They're probably kind of want to have some shoes for that. And these people are still buying. So making videos targeting these people. And then the third audience we figured out was survivalists, people who are in the survival niche. They want to have really great shoes that can survive really anything, right? And those people are buying like crazy right now. Those people, this is like what they've been waiting for years and years. So they're buying left and right. So there's like each product that somebody has, they're like different target audiences. They're different types of people that buy a product. And in a time like this, you want to really dive in and see like, hey, is there a segment of your target audience that is going to buy a lot more than usual, or are they going to be motivated to buy now? And if they are, then you want to adjust your ad copy, you want to adjust your landing page, you want to adjust your whole like marketing to speak to those people and attract them. So, and yeah, basically that's extremely important, right? Now, if you're in brick and mortar, right, which basically means if you, let's say, have a retail store, you got to figure out how to get online as soon as possible. The example I gave was doing online fitness training. And another option is you can create offers that can be purchased now and used after the crisis. So, for example, if you have a service, and let's say you're a barber, right, and you can't go to people's houses right now, perhaps you can do a deal where you're like, hey, if you buy a haircut from me right now, you can use it you can buy 10 haircuts and basically it's at 50% off, but you can use it anytime for the next 3 years, right? So there are certain people who think like that, who would rather save, like 30% to 40% now, even if they can only use it like, months and months down the line. So that's also an option you can have. And in the travel niche as well, right? Like that's what my client did, which is they're basically, we had this idea of basically selling the hotel rooms, but letting the clients use it for the next 2 years and thus allowing them to use it anytime they want. So that's another idea. And that's another way you can kind of keep revenue coming into your business. For example, if I was an airline, I'd be selling open dated business class flights that can be used in the next 2 years to bring in revenue. So if I was, let's say, American Airlines or British Airways, what I would do is I would basically have an offer where it's like, hey, you can buy a business class flight for much cheaper than usual, and then you can use it anytime in the next 2 years. That's kind of like an offer that I think a lot of the premium section of the market would purchase it, because they know that, hey, after this whole thing is over, they see an opportunity to get a deal right now so they can fly cheaper later on. Yeah. So, and the other thing is you want to be testing kind of your messaging, which is basically the way you're talking in your ads, the way you're communicating in your ads. You want to acknowledge the crisis in a way that doesn't come across as opportunistic or crass. So you don't want to say stuff like, "Oh, hey, the coronavirus is here. We're all going to, the world is going to end." You don't want to say stuff like that, but you want to enter the conversation going on in their mind. So, an example I saw of a really great ad is basically, I think it went something like this. So I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night worried about my family's future, and I've always done this. A lot of people are waking up like that. And then the ad goes into, and I decided that I have to do something about this. and I tried, I basically, it was something about selling some sort of course on how to start an ad agency, but he didn't really like say coronavirus. He didn't really even mention it, but he just entered that conversation going on in their head, which is like, hey, I'm kind of worried about, what's going on with my income, what's going on with my family's future. I want to secure it. And he basically used that to be like, hey, listen, this is a good time for you to learn a skill set. And this is the skill set I'm going to teach you that will help you get out of this crisis and be able to be successful from it. So you want to be trying different marketing messages, different ad angles. This is the time to get creative. This is the time to really test out a bunch of things. And yeah, focus on the opportunity and upside wherever possible. So basically with our agency, we're doing quite well right now, where our revenue is actually increasing. And I think a lot of that is when we jump on calls with potential clients, we're not like, oh yeah, the coronavirus is hurting us. We're telling them, hey, I think we think this is a great opportunity. There's a lot less ad cost right now. We have a lot of clients that are doing really well. And because of that, we're seeing it in a positive way, in terms of, as positive as can be, like in terms of like, yeah, there is still there's still business to be done, and there's still revenue that you can generate right now. So instead of, seeing it and like, oh yeah, this is the end of the world and everything is in trouble, you can basically have a more positive mindset and see the different opportunities that are arising right now. And those different opportunities that are arising right now are really, really important, because I mean, ultimately, the businesses that will come out right now, they're what's going to keep the economy going, right? We still need to have business running as usual. If everybody just stops doing business, we're in really big trouble here. So anyways, you want to avoid fear mongering. You don't want to have any fear mongering going on, which is basically like saying things like the world's going to end, or and so on. You'll attract low quality clients from that. And I would also avoid saying coronavirus in your ads, because some ad platforms are already like cracking down and penalizing you for that. And yeah, you really want to avoid, kind of extremely negative messaging. You want to focus more on the opportunity. The only exception to this would be perhaps the survival niche. I think those guys love the kind of like the negative angles, but in most industries, you want to avoid being, too negative, right? And in business opportunity niches, which is like courses, how to make money online, that kind of stuff, you want to focus on the importance of having control of your income and working from home. So for example, if let's say if I was selling a course on how to start your own agency, right? Like I'm going to focus on like, hey, this basically, this is the worst time in the world to have a 9 to 5, and this is the best time in the world to be actually controlling your own source of income because of the current situation. So another good idea is you could basically go with the opportunity angle. And the way it goes is, hey, everybody's stuck at home with tons of free time. Either we can use it or squander it. The ones who will use it well will be the winners. So you can use this messaging with your customers. So if you're in the health niche, the fitness niche, the work from home, or start your own business niche, this is going to work really well, because ultimately it's like, hey, you know we all have 24 hours a day and we're all stuck at home. Most of the world has more free time than they've ever had, and most of the world is watching Netflix for 5 hours a day. So it's like, the ones who use it well will win. Like, on my end, me and my friends were using it extremely well, and I'm just working like 12 hours a day because I don't really have anything else to do, and that's why my business is growing. So it's like, that's definitely an angle you can use with your marketing as well, which is that, hey, this is an opportunity because you don't have distractions, you don't have like all these things going on in your life. Like, you do not have to commute to work, you do not have to spend like 30 minutes in the subway waiting to get to work, you do not have to go to some your cousin's birthday party, you do not have to go clubbing at night, you don't have any of those distractions. So this is the time where you can actually make these big self-improvement projects happen, and your clients probably understand that on an intuitive level. And then if you speak to that, if you kind of use that angle, then they will also be convinced of that. So these are kind of current pain points that you can hint at in your marketing. Fear of job loss is a big one. Not having control of their income and situation, security for their family, using the time at home to do better for themselves and their family. So even if they have a stable job, like they still have all this extra time, and that could be some extra time they could spend, going through your course or doing whatever it is to, make their situation a bit better. And another big one is that hard times are an opportunity to become better. Hard times are what make tough people. So that's also something you can use in your marketing angles, right? Especially if you're selling a course of some sort. And I've seen a lot of marketers do this really well. And yeah, it makes sense, right? Like even me, like I'm like investing into courses right now because it's like I have so much time to do stuff. So yeah, and you want to make sure you're not like saying, are you afraid of losing your job tomorrow? It should be more like your messaging should be indirect, but it should hint at the fact that, hey, these are things that are going on. So when people are trying to, they're looking at your product, they're not feeling like you're negatively scaring them, but you're actually talking about the situation in an honest way. So they feel like, okay, this guy's product can help me. This person's product is useful for me. Now, if you run like a course, coaching, or e-commerce business, this is the time to be aggressive, acquire leads and customers for lower costs, and set yourself up for success for the next few years. So if you have a business that's doing reasonably well right now, this is the time where you want to be thinking of creative ways where you can grab market share, where you can find ways to do lead generation, where you can find ways to get new customers and really grow your business. I don't know if you'll make the most profit right now, but even if you, let's say, grab market share and basically do it without losing money, that's still a win, because then, as the situation normalizes, you'll be able to basically make a lot more money from the list you build, right? And yeah, if you're not moving fast right now, you'll be in trouble in a few months, right? Like this is kind of the time to get started, right? And yeah, if you're let's say if you're working for yourself, if you run an agency, you're a freelancer, you're a media buyer, this is a good time to upgrade your skills. You can start doing things like offering YouTube ads, which is what my agency does. And then you can also, start learning new skill sets, maybe Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. And basically, upgrade your skill set and start offering clients more things that you can do for them, right? Like, so even if you're in a service industry, or even if you're a web developer and so on, this is a great time to upgrade your skills, right? Because you're basically have so much free time to put time into other things. Yeah, and I think that was pretty fast, but I think that was like my presentation. So do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Shash. It was very cool, and I hope the audience also enjoyed it. We do have a few questions. Let's go through that quickly. So it's a big one, actually. What are the examples of ads that sell the most? And are there any specific words used for this? And how to define the right words for your ad to catch your audience attention?
Okay, so what are examples of ads that are doing really well? I'll show you guys an example of an ad that's doing pretty well right now for us. Give me a quick second. I'll just, it's a video ad, so I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear the audio on it, but I'll see if I can. Okay. Sorry, give me a quick sec. I'm just trying to pull this up.
Online event. That's cool.
All right, so I can actually send this link so that way everybody can kind of see it. I'm going to send this link to you and you can post it.
Yeah,
and I can share like a quick 2 seconds of the ad. So this is the ad we're running for our client Indestructible Shoes. So basically this ad is actually doing really well. This was shot before the whole Corona thing, so they're able to get outdoors. But basically this ad shows the product being used, things being dropped on it, and all kinds of stuff happening to the shoe. It's basically for an e-commerce product. You just want to show them that it works, and you want to guide them through like the kind of the reasons why it works and so on. Right now, but even if Yeah, cool. So yeah, that ad is great. If you can post that and send that to people. And then what else? So what was the second part of the question?
The second part was, are there any specific words used for this?
Okay. So that's like hard to say, like specific words. It's more like you kind of need to know what your audience responds to. You need to know what the kind of market climate is, and you need to know how to copyright. You need to know how to write really great ad copy. It's like really hard to say that there are any specific words. I would suggest just read Influence by Robert Cialdini. There's like a lot of things you can do to improve your copywriting, but it's really hard to suggest something very specific. Like
Yeah.
you want to hit their pain points. You want to make sure that you explain what the product is in a very clear way. You want to go over the benefits, like the actual benefits the transformation that will happen in their life if they use your product. And you want to show social proof. So you want to show testimonials. You want to show people who've actually successfully used this product and gotten really great results.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. There is also the third part of the question.
What was the third part?
How to define the right words for your ad to catch your audience attention.
Yeah, so I mean that's, I guess, like the second part kind of answered that. It's just like, you just gotta know what your audience resonates with. You gotta know how to be a good copywriter. Yeah. That's like a hard question to answer. That's like a 2-hour presentation by itself.
But okay, that's cool. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions yet, but I hope you guys enjoyed the topic and the presentation. Still, if you have any questions to ask, please type them below the video and we will pass them to Shash. And it looks like it's time to say, see you next time. Thanks everyone for joining, and thank you, Shash, for a very cool event with you.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Really happy to be on there. Let me know if you have any other questions. You can tag me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll answer those questions.